Hi, everyone. I'm Olga Beregovaya. I'm Vice President of Artificial Intelligence and Machine Translation here at Smartling. And today we will be talking about the most exciting subject of the nowadays, I imagine, which is language AI. So we'll see where artificial intelligence actually marries our localization industry and how can we make the best of using AI as a part of our translation process. So what is language AI? Let's have a look. First and foremost, we all know that we're overwhelmed by tons and tons of content that is coming our way daily. And we, as providers and our customers, will want to be successful in global markets. We need to be able to translate this content into multiple languages, some content instantly, some content needs a little bit more time. But how is it even humanly possible without using the latest technological advancements? And AI obviously being the main technological advancement of nowadays. So let's have a look. AI plus human in the loop is what we are about here at Smartling. So first things first, what is AI? Ability of a computer to perform tasks that usually an intelligent human being will perform. So how do we use AI? How is AI used in enterprise processes in the nowadays? We can have machine learning models driving process decisions, such as shall something be shipped to a certain location or not shipped to a certain location, and actually make personalization choices. Now, the biggest talk is large language models, right? Everybody knows about OpenAI GPT family. Now we have Llama from Meta. We have Google Bard. And basically, there are tons and tons of those large language models out there. And the world is talking about, okay, what is it going to do for us? Is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? How do we work with that? And I'll share our point of view, what we think about it here at Smartling. Now, exciting thing, multimodal LLMs. What is it? It is not just a language model, but it's a model that actually equally can handle images, text, and potentially audio and video. So now LLM plays alongside multimedia and multiple other language processing tools. An interesting fact, billion-dollar AI market is expected to reach 2 trillion in 2030. So what do we do with all of this? Generative AI, that's the biggest talk. If we say AI is the biggest talk of the nowadays, generative AI is the ultimate biggest talk of the nowadays. So what is generative AI? It's technology, as all of us who've played with GPT by now know, it can produce text, it can produce imagery, or what's referred to as synthetic data, which is actually data that can be further used to potentially train those AI models. What is a large language model? First and foremost, they are huge. As somebody told me the other day, we did not just wake up to the world of large language models, which is true. They've been around for a good 5 years. What is different now? There are many parameters. There are trillions of parameters and tons of data that these large language models actually trained on. And everybody knows what GPT is, the biggest word, generative pre-trained transformers, a family of large language models. So let's look at that. I'm a firm believer that we're at the state of gold rush, or quoting my favorite author, Haruki Murakami, wild sheep chase. Now we're in the wild LLM chase phase. What happened? Text giants releasing new large language models weekly. Only in the US do we have 152 registered language models, large language models in production. Do we even need the trillion parameters, or is there a way we can deploy them in a much leaner way? Big question. Is it an opportunity or threat? Well, the jury is out, right? We look at a lot of regulations around AI and up-and-coming regulations, both in the US and Europe and Asia and Africa and around the world. The latest study showed that 80% of US jobs may likely be impacted. Now, but what's impacted? Will we just be able to do our work better? We will be able to do more? Will some jobs be completely reformatted? Or will some jobs actually not exist anymore? It is all TBD. Everything is on the table. Is it secure? Can we send our clients data? Is it accurate, harmful, biased, ethical? A lot of questions, and indeed the time where things change literally daily. We wake up to a new tech announcement. So here I will talk about Smartling language AI and what do we think about it? How do you make the best use of language AI? An integrated platform AI by itself cannot just live in a box. It needs an environment. And if it is a part of an integrated platform, the opportunities are infinite. There's got to be a LanguageAI solution for each content scenario. What works for an opinion portal where users provide their rankings of restaurants, no way is it going to work for a patent, or let alone software product. And most importantly, a scalable and repeatable end-to-end large language model management process. I've got some questions like, hey, what is your claim to fame? Like, what are you guys doing that I cannot achieve with just inputting, translate this in Danish and make sound like Hans Christian Andersen? But the reality is, if you want to deploy it at enterprise scale, you need to have scalable, very thought through, very structured, repeatable, and pretty sophisticated end-to-end process. Now, what is localization? We all know what it is, but as our thought process was, okay, here is AI, here is local industry. What are the two concepts that we're actually marrying? So the adaptation of a product or service to meet the needs of a particular language, culture, and desired demographics. And how do we think about it at Smartling? At Smartling, when we talk about LanguageAI, it is literally plugging AI on every step of your translation process and delivering the best ultimate quality translation at the highest speed possible and lowest cost. Again, let's go back to different content scenarios. It's never going to be one size fits all, but there is an optimal mix, an optimal approach to each of the content types. So, generative AI in the log space. What does the landscape of 2023 look like? So far, we've been able to track through industry publications, through conferences, through podcasts. Most common industry implementations have been optimizing source content for translation, or say it's user-generated content with a lot of typos there. No machine translation, maybe not even a human translator will play well with this. Setting stylistic preferences for target. Do I want it to be formal or informal? Actually, GPT-4 is now reported to produce, for select language directions, produce results that are very, very comparable and sometimes superior to neural machine translation. We can even generate target copy, and the big question mark is there, hey, what's going to happen to marketing agencies? What's going to happen to generating marketing copy when target copy can actually be generated? Is it probably new phase of transcreation as we know it? Now you can write code, you can, and there is a lot of talk about, say, multilingual software testing. You can write code, but you can also validate the accuracy of code. You can experiment with UX design. If we look at multi-model models that we spoke about earlier, what's going to happen to desktop publishing? Is it going to be around? Definitely a lot of people looking at that and asking a lot of questions. Conversational AI dialogue design, how we're going to be designing chatbots. To date, companies that create multilingual conversational AI often need to invest into very expensive annotation and corpus generation processes. But with generative AI, do we need to spend as much? And again, a lot of developers of virtual assistants are definitely playing with these concepts around designing new era state-of-the-art conversational AI dialogues. Supply chain management, big question. How do you even validate your translators in the modern time and day? Do you need a human to review each translator at the onboarding time? Or can you actually use GPT models, for instance, to vet your translators? And then somebody ran an experiment, project managers. Actually, they had, I think it was ChatGPT, act as a local project manager, and it did surprisingly well. Now, there are challenges. Let's make sure we're not just painting a glossy picture and are oblivious to the challenges. Often, the output produced by generative AI is culturally irrelevant. As a non-native speaker of English, I can validate it firsthand that I'm often getting very strange messages when it comes to my mother tongue. Factual accuracy is a biggest known challenge of conversational AI in log space. It would just produce factually inaccurate, but very confidently looking answer because the model is trained to make a prediction and produce an answer. False fluency, huge enemy of post editors and translators. Again, it's going to look fluent, but it can be completely irrelevant due to what's referred to as model hallucination. And again, one of basic prompts, you can achieve reasonable result with one prompt, but can you do it across your entire client base? Probably not, unless you have a sophisticated process. And then cost, and one thing I also want to mention, cost and security. There are a lot of concerns now around data governance and data transfer and security of deploying LLMs. Smartling approach, language AI on every step. Let's just dissect a typical localization project workflow. We have intake, right? We are ingesting data. There is a workflow. There is possibility of pre-edit, pre-translation did not exist before, but the possibility is there now. Source content optimization. You can customize your machine translation engines, and you can also fine-tune what you actually want to receive back from large language models like GPT. Fully automated translation process. And then you can actually also plug in automated post-editing and automatically improve both the quality of what was translated by a human and what's translated by a machine. If you look at this, there is home for AI literally on every step of it. And this is how we do it here at Smartling. Analyzing source content and making decision. Hey, machine translation, human, post-editing, or forget it, you really need to create target copy from scratch. Workflow. The more data, and we're definitely living in the world of big data, and we're extremely data sensitive here at Smartling. The more data you feed to a project manager, the easier it is for a project manager to agree or disagree with AI-driven predictions and decisions. Pre-translation, that's something we already do now. You can actually take source copy and you can use large language models to improve your source copy, like say chunk longer sentences, maybe edit more complex sentences. Of course, it depends on how sensitive the customer is to, hey, I need my target to match my source completely. But there's definitely room for doing things to source content to optimize it for translation. We know that the old mantra of translation industry has been garbage in, garbage out. So, hey, if we can take care of garbage in, we definitely should do it. MT customization. We do want, and we ensure at Smartling that our machine translation speaks our customer's voice, adheres to customer's tone, and respects the customer's brand terminology. It could not be more essential than that. And again, now you can do it, and we do it equally through a combination of more traditional neural machine translation customization approaches, but also you can actually get large language models to help you with MT customization and selection of most optimal training data for your machine translation. No questions about the translation step, right? It's all AI-powered process. We already have translation memory, which is a state-of-the-art way of reusing previously translated content. We have machine translation, be it, again, translated by neural machine translation, or be it translated by large language models now. And you have a human in the loop where needed, or you go straight to publishing where it's not needed. Now, automated post-editing, again, allows you to further tweak your output. Usually automated post-editing is applied to machine-translated output, but there's definitely room for looking at deploying AI, language AI, to further improve human translation. So who do we become? What are we now? Are we localizers, or are we more of global content partners? Are we translators, or are we content engineers? And probably everything speaks in favor of the latter. So how do we drive quality with language AI? As we already said, AI-powered workflows and engineering, that's one thing that helps us ensure quality. Best quality machine translation and accurate machine translation quality estimation. This is pure machine learning or AI game. You can use, and that's how we do it here, AI algorithms to actually select the best quality machine translation engine and also estimate the output of machine translation and actually know how well machine translation engine performed, which further can help you human step decisions. And integration with large language models across the board, as we already discussed in the previous slide. Large language models used properly is a very, very powerful tool. So, data preparation. The big question is, most of our customers, most of buyers out there, and equally LSPs out there, have tons and tons of translation memory data that can actually be used to customize your machine translation engines. But is my data good enough? There are, of course, simpler ways. You could just deprecate translation unit based on the timestamp, or like, for instance, you know that a certain linguist doesn't happen often. All the linguists are brilliant, but say certain linguist was underperforming. There are more mechanical ways, but there are much more sophisticated AI-powered ways to actually analyze your translation memories, analyze your linguistic assets, and decide, is this translation relevant? And how frequently has this translation been used? Is it even the right translation for my intents and purposes? And you can tweak it and you play with it and you can set different tasks, but the outcome will be optimal training corpus. AI for quality estimation. It's all about quality, right? Quality and impact. And only high quality copy, high quality translation, whatever high quality means, it always depends on the use case, but only high quality translation will translate into our customers' KPIs, right? The product will sell, the users will click, but how would you estimate the translation? And probably all of us, or many of us, have seen this arbitrary, this translation is great, and that translation is awful. Now, again, AI can definitely help us here. So is it judgment, is AI-based judgment more objective? Probably, because there are quality estimation, automated quality estimation steps. There are AI-based tools and metrics. And why don't we let AI do the heavy lifting, language AI do the heavy lifting, and allow human in the loop to be more of the process manager, validator, and content engineer? We all know about MC quality evaluation, like metric like BLEU has been around forever, and it requires your gold standard or referential, it requires reference, something that has been translated by humans to compare to the quality of machine translation output. There is more recent, Meteor probably was also was developed shortly after BLEU to compensate for its shortcomings. Then we have Comet, developed by Alon Lavie and his team, which can equally be relying on gold standard to be non-referential. There is one very telling metric. How much did a human actually need to do to get from the quality of machine translation to the actual human quality? How much did the person need to tweak the sentence? There are, again, embeddings-based, more state-of-the-art, I guess, more recent metrics like Laser and Laser. But again, there is also human evaluation, and human in the loop definitely can do things a machine cannot do, or not just yet, which is measure utility, actionability, and how fluent and how accurate the sentence is. But what is possible now? Let's look at this. There are amazing things that are actually that can be done with language AI right now. Like, for instance, we just spoke about how to measure edit distance, but edit distance and edit nature are drastically different. Like, look at this. This person is guilty and this person is not guilty. Hey, it's only 3 characters, but it can be, the consequences can be detrimental. It can impact somebody's life. Or an example I'm always using, do pull this lever or do not pull this lever. Like, hey, before you know it, you've just dropped a construction crane. So there are things, there are AI-based approaches that we deploy here at Smartling, which actually help you pinpoint what exactly was changed and how essential the change is, and then determine how this workflow should be handled going further and how essential the changes are. Shall we make those changes automatically? Does it absolutely require human review, and so on and so forth? So being aware of semantic differences is essential. And here is a little bit of geekiness here. What happens behind the scenes? You basically either use word embeddings where you have vector numeric representations of words and you plot the words that are closer in meaning close to each other, or you can actually apply to the whole sentence. The result is going to be the same. You will know what's similar in meaning and what's different in meaning, and then you can determine what you want to do with this in your workflow. News. The sentiment out there is that if large language models like GPT are so awesome at generating text, hey, they must be equally good at assessing quality. And there is this initiative run by Microsoft, GAMPA, that is extremely interesting. It was developed by Microsoft researchers, and it really tells you that, yeah, the estimations are actually pretty accurate, and the correlation with human judgment or human evaluation of the quality is actually very, very, very close. So LLMs do demonstrate state-of-the-art capabilities in translation quality assessment. And again, that's something that we're looking very closely at Smartling, and definitely are considering including this particular step as a part of our workflow. And Basically, as I said, if you can reach state-of-the-art accuracy when comparing to human judgment, it definitely should be and is a part of the localization process, is already becoming a more and more essential part of the localization process. Diversity, equality, inclusion. That's a huge one. If you look at the content, and like, for instance, we all know about the stop lists, right? The concept of banned, prohibited, or stop lists that came up long time ago. And we're all familiar with the concept of banned words or non-inclusive vocabulary, right? And there were a lot of words that were flagged as non-inclusive, like whitelist, blacklist, manpower, and so on and so forth. Even red lines apparently come from historically rather non-inclusive concept of certain geozoning within big cities. So can AI help us spot this? Most definitely. I mean, this is just an example of an analysis of certain content, and actually software company professional content, where you can easily assess proportion of male, female, unisex names and pronouns. What can you do with this? This is amazing. AI can really help us drive inclusivity. We know that AI models can still generate bias. Why would they generate bias? Because AI is trained on certain legacy concepts that have been around forever. And it just happens so that the doctor would often be translated as a male and nurse would be translated as a female, just because that's all the model knows. That's how the world had been operating for years, as much as it's less and less of the case now. But AI can also help us drive inclusivity by detecting non-inclusive language, hate speech, and offensive vocabulary. And that's definitely something that is, it's already being deployed, and it's definitely something that we're working with and looking very closely at here at Smartling. You can generate a sentiment report, a summarization using LanguageAI, and you can actually look at like, hey, is it really hateful? Is it favorable? Okay, let's take hate to the side. Is it a favorable review of my product in Sweden, or is it not? Vice versa. The product was sold in the US, but it's a product produced in Poland. And then LLM can actually help you use inclusive language, generate male-female variants or gender-neutral output. We actually have patent pending technology here at Smartling that helps you manipulate all of this and manipulate all these parameters and arrive at the most optimal copy to meet our customers' global brand objectives. So what do you get? You get final copy that respects gender preferences, masculine, feminine, lexical choices, and replacing non-inclusive vocabulary. Now, since the concept of AI bias and ethical AI is probably one of the biggest topics in, not even in the industry, but probably in the world right now, we know that some countries say, hey, we want to stop it, or like this generates harmful content. I would really love to get you guys' input, and please feel free to drop your questions into the chat on this or any other topics, but perhaps this topic is probably the dearest to my heart, and we'll make sure to get back to you after that. But I would love to have this debate. So what's next? How about humans in the loop, fix what's broken, and manage by exception with LanguageAI? We already spoke about source content evaluation and routing. AI, check. Source content improvement, AI, just discussed that. Customization, data, prompt engineering, managing, and data management tools, pure AI play. You can measure machine translation performance. We can just went through that, but you can actually also measure human performance. And again, LQA, language quality assessment by humans, is of huge value, because nothing still fully matches human judgment, but it's also the outcomes of LQA. And this is something that our data science team, our research team, is looking at very closely. The more human-generated, human-annotated data we get, the more human judgment we get, or direct assessment, the easier it is for us to calibrate our machine learning models here. AI can help you, and we already spoke about it. It's essential for us to make sure that our customers stay on brand. Targeted human post editing and validation. Again, look at what's broken. If the sentence looks perfect, does a human need to look at it, or can we skip it? And broader picture using AI for quality assurance. Questions. So many questions, so many decisions. So do we translate or do we generate target copy? If we say for a second that we generate target copy or we translate bigger chunks of text, what does it do to translation memory as we have known it all this time, which is like source, target, source, target, source, target? How do we store it? What does it do to our CAT tools? What shall a CAT tool powered by LanguageAI look like? We definitely have a lot of ideas. And it's, again, something it's very, very high on our radar. And it's definitely something we think a lot about. Linguist experience, role of a linguist. Do our linguists become translators, post editors, prompt engineers, or really do we just broaden that role of human in the loop and we look at it holistically? How can human in the loop both benefit of AI, contribute to the progress of AI, and deliver the best outcomes for our customers? Do we understand the shortcomings of AI and how do we mitigate them? There are a lot of debiasing techniques. There are a lot of customization techniques, but we should not just say, like, hey, we've arrived. We are in the El Dorado, and that's the end of it. AI still has long ways to go, and we need to be very mindful of all the shortcomings. And again, deploy what works, be mindful of what doesn't work, and drive the best outcomes for our customers. Again, something about processes. There is linguistic AI, natural language processing, but there is also operational AI, which helps us. We're global content delivery platform. So we are equally mindful of the roles of project managers, localization engineers, linguists. All of this needs to play holistically. And I think we can help developing a lot of clarity around how AI powers each of these roles. So what do we learn? AI is enabler, partner, facilitator, and the time is ripe and the time is now. Thanks.